Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Razak at CMtrading. Today's December 29th, 2020. And today is Tuesday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones both surged to new record highs. We're going to take a look at which stocks are surging us higher. But first, there is no major economic event scheduled for today. But as we start looking at the markets, we're looking at the Forex symbols pretty much unchanged, okay? Not much activity happening there for the past 2 weeks in a very tight range. We'll take a look at a couple of Forex symbols as well. Now, looking at the indices, both the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ rallied big to new record highs. We're going to take a look at that in just a second. And looking at commodities, gold and oil, pretty much unchanged. And looking at the stocks, it's Apple, the trendsetter, the leader of the pack of the FANG stocks that is taking us once again to new record highs. We're going to take a look at that as well. And lastly, looking at Bitcoin, it's steady, but is it going to stay at these levels? So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So we're going to first take a look at the Euro USD. It's in a tight range. I'm not going to say that there's no activity in it, but there is some ranges that you might want to trade as opposed to the Euro USD, just because there's better plays out there, okay? But for posterity purposes, I do want to cover it just for our sake. Now, we are trading at 122.46, and we've gone up about 20 pips since yesterday. Now, that's relatively a very tight range. Now, there is a top here, okay? There's a resistance-ish level at this 122.50-ish level. If we look at that right there, and we're almost there. That's not such a straight line, but 122.50 is pretty much your resistance-ish level. You do want to see if it's going to come clear and pass that higher. But as we look at the volume, if you pay attention to this bottom right here, bottom right corner, you'll see that the volume is actually decreasing as this is going higher, which means to say that there's not going to be enough to carry us higher. Okay, generally speaking, it's not going to take us higher, not going to break this range. So we may see a correction later on this week. Now, looking at the other Forex symbols, really nothing happening. Aussie USD also rallying to 76, but again, it's in a tight range. Now, I'd rather be trading something that's a lot more volatile like the indices. Looking at the Dow Jones, okay, we're going to take a look first at a monthly chart. And this gives us a perspective of how much further higher we've gone. 30,470 is where we're trading on right now. On a Japanese candlestick, we're on our dead highs. We may have hit a little bit higher than that, but just realize, okay, we are going into the end of the year. So there's a couple scenarios here. We may rally into the end of the year and then people starting to take stock off next week, okay? After the New Year's, people like to sell off the markets a little bit just to book their profits. And that may happen, okay? But so far, we're very strong. And we're not just strong in the indices, we're strong in the stocks as well. Okay, now we're going to take a look at Apple in just a second. But looking at a daily chart, we finally broke above that 30,250-ish level, okay, which was holding us back from breaking out higher, finally breaking out higher, and then, surging to 30,473. There's a couple of things here, okay? Number one, the stimulus package passed, okay? It's a matter of time until Americans will get that. That stimulates the market. That stimulates spending, which is really good, okay? That's what we're looking for. Now, looking at some of the individual stocks, Apple came out with news that it's coming out with an Apple car, which should be very exciting for the markets, okay? It's the new trendsetter for electric and high gadget cars, okay? Tesla obviously being the leader of the pack right now, but it's Apple. If they're putting so much equity into it, it's going to be kind of interesting how this develops in the next 3 to 5 years. Now, looking at the NASDAQ, okay, which is really the one that carries us higher, this is the highest it's gone ever. You could see at that candle, okay, on a monthly chart that it's at all-time record highs, okay? That gives us a better perspective of it. This is the massive retracement that we had from February down to March of last year. And look what we've done. We've almost gone up about 5,000 points higher. Okay, we're about 4,000 points to 5,000 points higher here from our all-time highs of last year. That's an amazing feat. Okay, that's a 50% rally. And this should be the topping out. Okay, this should really be the topping out of where the market should be. Okay, in terms of, its rally higher. Now looking at Apple, okay, which has carried us higher. on our dead highs, 134, every time it went higher. And if you guys remember, I covered this last week where we were looking, let's look at a 1 hour chart. We're looking in this area when it popped up above 121 and just consolidated. Didn't go lower, but just consolidated. And every time it consolidated, it didn't go lower. It just went higher and then gapping up and then gapping up and gapping up and gapping and going. So we're at 134. Now this is all-time record highs. Okay, pre-split, this is probably about $450 to $500 stock today. Okay, so it is a very expensive stock and potentially it could go even higher. Now looking at some of the other FANG stock, Amazon also broke out higher finally from that 3,200-ish level, also breaking out higher. Now Facebook also breaking out higher to 274, back to that highs of that area, okay, where we were consolidating within this area. Now, not all the stocks went higher yesterday, okay? Some of the traditional Dow Jones stocks did not, like JP Morgan, but that may still make that rotation today. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin. Now, this has been something very interesting. I mean, this surge to 27,000 has really raised the eyebrows of the SEC and some of the regulatory security bodies that regulate the markets, because this was just a almost unnatural, okay, rally, okay, if you could say that. But I don't think it was, just because there has been this drive at the end of the year to invest in Bitcoin. Now this has surged up to 27,700-ish level, so we are at all-time highs here, okay? If it can sustain this level, do anticipate some kind of correctional move, okay? It might not happen, but for those that are scalping the markets, okay, if that does happen, if you see an acceleration with selling off, you might not want to scalp it and just try to carry it further down if it does make that correction, okay? So something to consider going into today. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.